What's up guys, Haking here, bringing you a new RE9 video discussion, this one on a new interview with the producer, discussing potentially returning characters. Now, before I go further into this, remember to like and subscribe, and I also want to talk about the fact that apparently it's been revealed that there's not going to be a demo being released for RE9, so I'm not too sure about that. I'm hearing mixed things, like we're not gonna get the demo, or because they're focusing on finishing the game, which is very interesting that we might not get one. Or maybe this is their hint, perhaps, that we're not gonna get the same demo, we're gonna get something else perhaps, or maybe we're gonna get something after the, I don't know, the showcase that they're gonna have, or maybe Game Awards. I don't know. Like I said, I'm hearing very mixed things. I don't know what to really believe in that. At this point, I would say we are going to get a demo, because it would be a bit weird if we didn't. So I think it was a bit of a mistranslation there. I think we will get a demo, because we've gotten a demo for all the RE games every time, so it doesn't make sense that we wouldn't get one now. And plus, maybe they'll do what they did with RE7, RE8, and we get like a very exclusive demo designed specifically for this game, and like, you know, like we got with the beginning hour of 7 and the maiden demo and that. So maybe something like that perhaps. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, let's go through this main topic and see what it has to say. Chatting the return to Raccoon City and designing Resident Evil Requiem with the game's producer. Horror incoming by Zach Jackson. So this is, I forgot what site this is on. Well Played, was it? But yeah, let's go through this, guys. Yeah, well played. Resident Evil Requiem sees the series return to Raccoon City for the first time since Resident Evil 3. What made the team decide to return to the city where it all started almost 30 years ago? And again, producer is Masato Kumazawa. When you compare it to the last main entries, Resident Evil 7 and also Village, it went far away from Raccoon City and Umbrella. By portraying these outskirts, like the country or the village and so on, I believe that going back to Raccoon City and back to the main part of the story, it's best for the fans. They will properly enjoy the story on what happened and uncover further. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, they set this return to Raccoon City up back during Outbreak 1, I believe, in the post-credits. And it's always been one of those things where it's like, clearly there's more going on here than they're revealing. Like, when are we going to go back to Raccoon City, like the ruins, and see what's going on, what's been happening? So it's been a long time coming. And for them to do this during the 30th anniversary as well, I think is one of the smartest things they ever did. It's still funny to me that they were going to do this multiplayer game, and then at the end they were like, you know what, let's do this. Let's go back to Raccoon City. It does feel sort of like the same situation with Resident Evil 5 and 4, basically, where 4 sort of came out and did its own thing, and really it had nothing really to do with the previous established story and lore. And then 5 came out and it was like a direct sequel to Code Veronica, so it feels like 9 feels like that sort of, which is a weird thing to say because 7 and Village, you know, are still Resident Evil games, and I feel like they're better in terms of story compared to the original Resident Evil 4, because at least it does sort of like tie in, and it does sort of feel like a better, well done semi-reboot in a way, like instead of establishing a new character and a new lore and that. And if we go with the recap, obviously they're probably not going to ignore what they set up with 7-8, so we're probably going to see the connections properly in RE9. But it's a nice way of just like bringing everything together with that game and tying everything all together and that. Do you know what I mean? With the Raccoon City and Umbrella stuff and the connection stuff potentially with 7 and 8. So yeah, I think it's a smart choice. Recent Resident Evil titles have utilized a stalker enemy. With Requiem, how difficult has it been finding the right balance with this mechanic to make sure players don't get frustrated, seeing as it's something they've experienced in previous games? Have you ever considered having an option to disable the mechanic? I understand how there are a lot of opinions surrounding the stalker, but we are giving a survival horror experience. We did learn from the past on how to balance it. We're trying not to make it a main part. It's like a small part of the game. The most important thing is that because the game is new, we want it to focus more on trying to scare the player in many different ways. Providing that players can be involved in many different kinds of situations, we're just trying to cover a lot of scenarios to make sure the players can get scared and experience the horror. So, first of all, that's an interesting question actually, in terms of like, you know, have they ever considered like adding a disable button for the stalker element? That'd be kind of different and maybe interesting to do for future releases, to have that feature. I know a lot of people did not, you know, there's a lot of people who did get annoyed by Mr. X in the RE2 remake. So imagine if there was a feature where you could turn that off, like, and maybe not encounter him as much, perhaps. But in terms of this and discussing, you know, the hag or the big mama stalker, they're saying that it's a small part. So it sounds like it's it's going to be very similar to Alyssa. Sorry, am I saying Alyssa? What's her name? Screw it. Dimitrescu, Lady Dimitrescu. I was trying to say her first name. Lady Dimitrescu. It's probably going to be similar to that, where it's like the first area and it's like that small section where you have that stalker enemy and then that's it. So I'm thinking it's going to be similar to that, which is kind of a shame maybe if it ends up being Alyssa, but maybe this will be a recurring stalker enemy perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. With Grace being the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from Resident Evil Outbreak, can we expect more characters from Outbreak to show up in Requiem? I would say that yes. There are going to be some characters from the past series to come in, but don't over-expect or hype it. We can't promise you anything about that, but the only thing I can say is that there will be characters that have been involved in the Raccoon City incident involved in the game. So this is like the biggest hint and confirmation that there's going to be multiple returning characters. Obviously, we had that situation with the director and the YouTube algorithm, the subtitle situation, where he sort of confirmed that was going to happen. And now we have the producer himself saying, oh yeah, there's going to be multiple returning characters in this, for, you know, from the Raccoon City incident. So this pretty much straight up for me at least confirms Leon's in it. But hopefully this also means that there's going to be other returning characters, potentially from Outbreak and the Raccoon City incident. So this gives me hope, potentially, that Jill is going to show up in this game. Where, you know, hopefully as a cameo. Maybe she'll be Leon's guide. Because if Leon's going to Raccoon City, he's going to need someone who knows the area inside and out. And what better character to have, like, on a radio and have that be Jill, perhaps, maybe. Maybe we won't get Hunnigan, maybe it'll be Jill, like, because he's going off-grid and doing his own investigation on the government and that, so he doesn't want to be involved, or get Hunnigan involved, perhaps. So maybe getting someone like Jill to help out. Maybe, I don't know. In terms of potential Outbreak returning characters, maybe Kevin, maybe Yoko, maybe George. Like, I can only see those. Maybe all of them will turn up, and maybe the victims, or, you know, because of the daylight vaccine, if that plays a role in it, or maybe just little fun cameos or references, perhaps. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see who's going to show up and not. I really kind of hope that if we do get like a trailer during Game Awards, that it's a cinematic action trailer that's just going to straight up reveal at least a lot of the returning characters. Like, that's kind of what I'm hoping that trailer will be. Like, it's going to be the big spoiler trailer. Not as spoilery, you know, not enough to, like, ruin the twists and surprises, but enough to sort of go, hey, look, there's Leon. Hey, look, there's that character. Hey, look, is it potentially this character? Hey, is that a hint at this character, perhaps? Is that whose voice we're hearing? You know, so something like that. And then, you know, maybe, and then we get, like, a launch trailer, and it sort of confirms little things, little tad pieces here and there. Another thing to discuss, actually, regarding the demo, maybe if it is true that we're not getting a demo, maybe it's because of this, because they don't want people to data mine it and reveal all the spoilers and that. So maybe that's one of the reasons they don't want a demo, perhaps. Maybe it's legit. We're not going to get a demo. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this part of the interview, like, I'm like, the hope or whatever, the like, is like rising now with this, because it's like, ooh, who's coming back? Who's coming back? Like, at this point, I really do want a spoiler. Like, I just want someone who knows stuff and can leak it just to reveal who the returning characters are. Because, yeah, I don't want to be disappointed. That's the thing. I don't want to be disappointed, and then we play this, and then Jill's not in this, or other characters are in this, because it's the Raccoon City incident. Like, I feel like Jill would make the most sense to at least have a cameo or be a radio guide or something at least. And if Alex Wesker is in this, if she's in this, then Barry or Claire need to be involved as well in some capacity, right? So, Resident Evil is a series with many beloved characters. Do you think people will take to Grace quicker than Ethan Winters because of her existing connection to the Resident Evil universe? Yes, so I'm hoping that players will definitely get used to Grace more when you compare her to Ethan when they're playing the game. Ethan did more of a job of being the player's camera than anything, and we did this very consciously in the development of the game. Whereas in comparison with Grace, we focused more on having our character out there. We wanted to make sure that we show how she is scared. We show that by what kind of words she says, actions she does, or how she acts when she's surprised. Yeah, I can see more people liking Grace than they will like Ethan, because Ethan, you know, like he says, he was designed to be the player's camera, and we never saw his face and that, so he was always like this enigma, like, so that we could sort of portray ourselves into. But with Grace, they're doing like from what I've seen so far, they're trying to do a decent job of making her feel like a character and feel connected to the series by having her be, you know, Alyssa's daughter. So I think it's gonna work out well. Resident Evil Village had the Duke act as the game's merchant. Will Requiem have a merchant character? If so, will there be a returning character or a new one? In this game, there's no merchant character. So that confirms that. That's another big confirmation there for anyone that was like, are we going to get a merchant? It's like, no, we're not going to get merchant. And this pretty much also confirms, if you believe the leaks, that I, like, there was this rumored leaks a few weeks ago that I talked about, where they said that the upgrade system is going to be similar to the original Resident Evil series or Resident Evil Remake, where you find parts and you just combine it. So basically like 7 and Remake 2 and Remake 3 and that. So it's not going to be like Village or 4 where you have a merchant and you upgrade your weapons that way. I'm a bit disappointed with that, but at the same time I'm not, because I do like both upgrade systems, so it's going to be fun doing that either way. I'm just hoping there's a lot of upgrade parts that we get. It's not like just 1 or 2 parts. Like, if this is a big game, I want there to be a good decent amount of weapons and a good amount of decent upgrade parts that we can get. So that'll be fun to do. But I guess this also means it's not going to be like 8 and 4 where you're going to replay it and use different weapons all the time. So you're going to be stuck with the weapons you have. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, not really much to say about that than that. Moving on. One of my favorite parts of Resident Evil is the save room music. How much work goes into designing these rooms and their musical themes? Yes, like the past, we will have a save room music that's going to be there. I didn't hear it exactly from the sound team, but what I can say is that we made sure that the song will sound fresh. It'll make players feel refreshed. Sorry, I didn't hear it from the sound team, but I'd like to hear it from the sound team as well. A lot of repetition there with that answer. That's a weird question to ask. I feel like this is something you would ask like after many. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, because obviously there's gonna be save music there and that. And plus, I don't know. He's the producer. He wouldn't really have much to do with the sound. So kind of weird question to ask him. Whatever. I guess, you know, I do like the sound, the theme, the ways that the save room theme. So it's always nice to hear something fresh and new. With Requiem, including characters from Outbreak, could we ever see Capcom revisit Outbreak or that style of game? Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have any plans of making games like those, but maybe if there are lots of user needs, or there's a need from the gamers, or they want more like Outbreak, then maybe yes. I personally would like Outbreak, and maybe eventually down the road I would like to make one, but at the moment, no. In saying that, you don't need to play Resident Evil Outbreak to enjoy Resident Evil Requiem. In fact, the only knowledge that you'll need is that the main character, Grace Ashcroft, is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, who featured in Outbreak. I just want to make that clear. And that's pretty much the end of the interview. That was like the last question the guy asked, and that was answered. So there's no plans for an Outbreak remake yet. I think if we demand it, they will eventually sit down and make it. As the saying goes, if you build it, they will come. Good film, by the way. And yeah, it's kind of interesting that he's saying that the only knowledge you need is that Grace Ashcroft was like a main character in Outbreak. So I imagine we'll get some sort of reference to the Outbreak event. Speaking of the Ashcroft, Grace Ashcroft stuff regarding Outbreak, so there was a post by Dusk Golem where he said that there's going to be DLC for RE9, obviously, and that the DLC would be with Grace Ashcroft. It would star her. So now you kind of have to wonder, like, will this DLC be like a flashback to Outbreak, and we're going to play as her, perhaps? Which would also mean that we are going to have like some returning characters from the Outbreak games featured in the RE engine for the first time and coming back in Requiem. Are they going to give us like the canon scenario? Can you imagine if they did that? They made a Pacific DLC that was basically a remake of one of the scenarios starring Grace, and like it shows us how she gets out, and that's like the canon scenario. Imagine if they did that. It's either that, or because it has to be a prequel, like it has to be before she died, so it's obviously a prequel DLC. But it's either that, or if it's true, you know, if Dusk is telling the truth. I think in that department, I think it would be true. They are going to do like a DLC starring Alyssa, because why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? It just makes sense that you would do it. So I think it's going to be either that, or my theory about Grace being a biological weapon or an experiment or something that Alyssa saved is going to end up being true, and that's what the prequel is going to be. That's what the DLC is going to be. Like, we're going to get the POV of Alyssa infiltrating this area and then finding like baby Grace or something and saving her. Like, that's Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. I'm just throwing that in there. I'm just throwing that potential theory in there. You know, keep that in mind. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm hoping they do a remake of Outbreak. I hope they do. But like it says here, like it doesn't sound like they've got any plans yet. And if you believe Dusk again, if you believe him, you know, they probably won't greenlight any new games until 2027 when they have that big meeting, whatever that they usually have every 5 years apparently. So they'll probably sit down and discuss what remakes or games they're gonna do next. Maybe Outbreak will be one of those remakes, maybe not. Personally, I would say do it. Remake Outbreak 1 and 2 and, you know, make the continuity fit with what we have with RE2 remake and RE3 remake, and obviously whatever's going to be revealed in Requiem, so that we got a nice flowing connected story this time around. But yeah, anyway guys, that's the video. I hope you liked it. As always, remember to like and subscribe, guys. Yeah, I'm getting really impatient at this point. Like I just want this game to come out already. I just want a new proper story trailer that's going to give us a bit more meat to chew on, because there's nothing to chew on really. Like we got that reveal trailer, we got a cutscene, and then we got a Nintendo reveal trailer. That was it. We haven't gotten a proper trailer to story trailer yet. We haven't gotten that proper trailer yet, like that middle trailer that we usually would get. So I'm hoping Game Awards is going to be that day. It's going to be that event that's going to come out and it's going to be like, here you go, and it's going to be like, oh my god, this is amazing. So fingers crossed for that. Fingers crossed. Anyway guys, I shall see you when I shall see you. Take care and bye.